All right, so I want to talk about a song here that's real important. Now, we know Large Professor is a very important beat maker. He put out an album, well, actually never put out an album, but he released it himself. Actually got shelved. It's called the LP. It's from 1995. And he did release a bunch of singles off of this, primarily number one, The Mad Scientist. Basically a joint bragging about his skills, but bragging about his production and talking about his production and beat making abilities. And then another track that's pretty prominent and well known, which is I Just Wanna Chill, which is just another classic joint. This got shelved by the record labels. I believe was supposed to come out on Geffen Records. So Paul Large Pro released it, a little bootleg versions himself because he wanted to get out there. But yeah, basically this is Large Professor just going off about his beat making techniques, and he's a live guy with glasses. Now this uses a lot of different elements. As we said, like Paul was a mad digger, but Large Pro Paul was a mad digger, but he got this loop from this record right here. This is Dave Matthews, Dune, okay? And it comes from Dune Part 2 Sandworms, which is just a track on here. Now, Dave is pretty dope. It's not like the corny, I don't know, the corny, stupid 90s rock band Dave Matthews guy. This guy was a producer and arranger, primarily for this record label, CTI. CTI is the record label that also Bob James was on. And some of these CTI records are super dope. And some of them are just really corny, new age jazz bullshit. But he gets the loop from this and he hooks it up. And so this song has got a line in it that's real important, right?
It's a flushing, known for programming of percussion, bass lines, etc. Check me out and I'll betcha. The one that claims he's the best can't get ya. Beat like I catch it cause it's downright wretched. Put it through the S950, then stretch it.
So what's he talking about in these lyrics? Okay? Known for programming and percussion. Man, I mean, if y'all know now what programming is, it's again how he samples his samples. It could be drums or whatever, but he's known for dope drums because of what he took in advance from Paul C. But he knows how to replay them. He knows how to manipulate and make them sound fat, crunchy, and he knows how to replay them in like a funky way. Bass lines are set. Check me out and I'll bet you. So like basically he's got his filtered bass lines hooked up. Anybody who thinks that they're good, so the one that claims that he's the best can't catch a beat like I catch it because it's downright wretched. So what he's saying, when I catch a beat, meaning he hooks up a loop that he samples something, chops it, manipulates it, like you could give Large Pro a record and you could give me a record and he'd hook it up way different and way better, obviously. Put it through the S950 and stretch it. Now, the S950 is a sampler. It's the Akai S950. You may know of Akai because of the Akai MPC series of beat making machines, which is what I use. The S950 was something that a lot of people started using in the early 90s, mid-early 90s because of this. You could just manipulate samples more in it than you could with the SP12. So a lot of people, they would sample and do all their drum programming in the SP1200, and then they would sample their bass lines, they would sample their melodies, anything else, they would sample it into the S950, manipulate it inside the S950, and then they would trigger those sounds with the pads on the SP1200, because the SP1200 has a MIDI out meaning it can control, you know, you could control sounds from, you know, from a synthesizer, anything, you know, like just like you could with the TR-808, right? So you could hook it up to anything that had a MIDI input, and you could use it as the essentially the master control for that. So a lot of people would do all their other samples on the S950 and then hook up the drums and everything on the SB1200, because the SB1200 again was so limited, you know, but it made the drums just so dope. And so that's what he's talking about.